Welcome back. The Giants just finished off their 3-1 win in Miami to win the series in Miami and finish the road trip at 3-3 on their Florida trip this year. Um, Lots of good, some bad, kind of, story of everything for the season so far, a little bit more bad than good at times, it feels like, but there are a lot of good takeaways we have from this series. They get to 8-11 on the season. They're still kind of limping along right now in April. Heading home, they're now going to have a 4-game homestand against Arizona, followed by 3 games against the Mets. So we'll see kind of if they can find a way to carry any kind of momentum into the series against Arizona. This team hasn't won 2 games in a row since the second and third game of the season. So hopeful there that they can get something going. Gives me some major league vibes and Coach Lou. So if you know, you know. Uh, Beyond that, though, I'm going to kind of talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I didn't like from the series, and kind of started off with, one of the things I didn't like once again, and I hate to just keep beating this dead horse, but the offense still has a big problem. You look at this team and what they've done with runners in scoring position over the course of the 6 games on this road trip, and I'm not going to dig beyond that. I can tell you the team statistics as a whole on the season, but for the 6 games on this road trip, they went 0 for 10, 3 for 11, 2 for 7, 3 for 6, 1 for 9, and 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That was good for a 10 for 52 on the road trip. Other thing I looked at, how many times did they strike out looking in this series? Not to go through the game by game, but the answer was over the course of the 6-game road trip, they struck out looking 20 times. So we keep coming back to this, and I'm gonna make it quick today, but you just Slaz is unplayable. That combination is unplayable right now, and I know everyone wants to talk about sample sizes, and here's my take on that. Austin Slater's dealing with an elbow injury that from a surgery he got over the offseason. He's likely not going to be as good defensively as he's been in the past. And last season, he already took a step back against left-handed pitching. He was still good. I'm not saying he was not good against left-handed pitching, but he took a notable step back from what he was. He was no longer like one of the best hitters in baseball against lefties. He just went back to being good. He is now continuing on that downward trend, and he's 31, making $4 million, and he's on the last year probably as a Giant. Mike Yastrzemski is going to turn 34 years old during this season. At what point do we stop treating him like a guy that's likely to turn around and just accept the fact that this is a guy that we've been chasing what he was in 2019 and 2020 for 3 years now. He's still been a really good player, but you know, guys that can't hit that are good defensively, they're fourth outfielders. And he's 34, he's trending down. He's going the wrong direction. I I just at some point you make a move. And there's a couple options there I've seen. That we've obviously talked about calling up someone like Elliot Ramos or Luis Matos, calling up an outfielder, giving them time. The other option is, and you've been seeing a little more of it, you get some more fits in the outfield, you get more of Lamont Wade Jr. in the outfield. If Wilmer Flores was playing better, I would actually like the Wade in the outfield option more. But the reality is Flores isn't deserving of an everyday role right now either. He's not hitting, and I don't think the answer to Yaz and Slater not hitting is to just give Flores more at bats, who's frankly not been great this series. Hitting 227 with a 573 OPS. And I'm not taking anything against Wilmer. I actually have faith that Wilmer will get going at some point, but he's not hitting either. So I do think at some point you have to start giving some of these kids opportunities. It has to happen. You have to look to both now and the future. This team needs the athleticism. It needs, it needs some spark, and it's just not coming from some of these guys. And, playing more Wilmer and Wade is taking away from the athleticism on this team. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but whoever watched the game yesterday and watched Wilmer Flores do his best Benji Molina impression down the first baseline. I mean, the second baseman moved away from second base, fielded the ball, threw it to second, and they still threw Wilmer out by like 10 feet. It wasn't even close. So there are options. So, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and dwell on this super long. I'm just going to kind of give everybody a statistic just so they're aware. Since in 2023, the Giants were 23rd in plate appearances with runners in scoring position. They finished the year 18th in batting average and 19th in OPS. 2024, they are 23rd once again in plate appearances with runners in scoring position. They are 23rd in batting average and 27th in OPS. Something has to give. If you can't score on one swing, you better start figuring out a way to manufacture some runs, and they're just not doing it. So it's a concern, and until it stops being a concern, I'm going to keep bringing it up. So, all right, moving on. Now we're going to start talking about some of the positives. So, some of the good things from this series, road trip, actually. I think the Giants are answering the question as far as a lot of us, and myself included, were concerned that this team's was going to burn out its bullpen again. Last season they were running two starters basically with Webb and Cobb and a bunch of openers for much of the year, and they basically had a cabinet full of bulk guys in the pen. And this season, they're getting quite a bit of length out of their starters and pretty consistently too. Looking at the road trip, this is what they received. First game, 5 innings out of Wynn. Second game, 7 out of Webb. Then they got 4 innings out of Snell. I do think that'll improve. Snell is clearly, him not getting a spring training is very apparent. It's very obvious that he did not throw in spring training. There's a huge, Kruko talks about it all the time. There's a huge difference between throwing live ABs than there is simulated games. So I'm not concerned about him. He'll get going, I think, at some point, but it's been rough. It's basically just punted 2 games so far. But 4 innings out of Snell in the third game. Then they got 6 out of Harrison in Miami the first game, 5 out of Hicks yesterday. And it was an unfortunate 5 because he had been super efficient for 3 innings. And then, they had a rough inning where, in Hicks tipped his cap. The Marlins had good game plans, but also Tyler Fitzgerald whiffing second base pretty much caused Jordan Hicks to throw 10 extra pitches that inning. So he could have possibly gotten a little more length out of it. Unfortunate is what it is, but he did battle through 5, and that was nice to see. And then today, Keaton Wynn gave them another 6 innings. So this team consistently getting 5-6 innings out of their starters is huge. I mean, this is clearly not something they dealt with last year. So hopefully it's going to keep the pen fresh. Doval hasn't had a ton of use yet. Had a really good series this series in Miami, where they had the oddity of game 1 where Doval gets pulled in with 0 warm-up essentially because of the miscommunication down to the pen. Manages to get the 4-out save. So kudos to him, and had a nice clean 1-2-3 inning today. 0 stress. We appreciate those, Camilo. So that's a big positive. Another couple guys I want to give a shout out to from this series. Eric Miller. I think I've been high on him for a while. He's a guy I've regularly brought up, and you can tell there is so much trust in him right now out of Bob Melvin. I mean, look at the situations they're using him in. Today, having him be one of the first guys out of the pen to throw the 7th. And really, he had a couple rough outings early on. Ever since that rough outing against the Dodgers, where he gave up 2 hit, gave up a quick walk and a hit, and then they pulled him, and Tyler Rogers served up a 3-run dinger to Teoscar Hernandez. Ever since kind of that really rough outing there, he's actually been really solid. I mean, these are his numbers since that outing. He's thrown 5 2/3 innings. He's given up 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 earned run, and he has 10 strikeouts. So, I mean, he's showing what he can do. His stuff is nasty. High 90s fastball with that slider. I mean, it's a really tough combination. Late innings. His thing's just going to be, can he throw strikes? And if he does throw strikes, then he's going to be really good. I have confidence in that. But looking at last season, he had his walks per 9 were up near 8 almost. That needs to be down under 5. If it is, he's going to be really good, and he'll be a late inning guy. So really awesome to see him doing well. I just wanted to bring that up to everyone. A couple other guys that deserve some praise. Lamont Wade Jr., I brought him up. I don't think I've given him probably the the shout outs and the praise that he's deserved to this point this season. He's been probably their best hitter as a whole on the season. This road trip, he just finished 5 for 12, home run, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. So he had a really good series. Yeah, I kind of would like to see him get more at bats against lefties, see if he can do it, and see if he, you know, at some point you got to give these guys opportunities to be everyday players. But on the flip side, it might be one of those situations where they're really excellent players in their role, and as you get them outside of that role, the cracks start to show. And I think that's a case with Wilmer Flores. I've always kind of felt like he's excellent in his role. He's going to get his 350 at bats. He's going to be really good. But if you give him too many at bats, you start to kind of see why he's not an everyday guy. So, but Wade has been awesome. Tons of credit to him. He does deserve to play more, in my opinion. Tyro Estrada has finally gotten going, which is really nice to see. 9 for 21 on the series or on the road trip. 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 4 RBI, a walk, and 5 strikeouts. I'd like to see his legs get going a little bit. That's something that the Giants have done more of is start running. Tyro is a 20 stolen base guy, 20 plus stolen base guy. He might have had 30 last year and ended that streak. So I'd like to see him get going more. Obviously, you've seen Fitz has, I think, the team lead in 4 steals. I need Fitz to get to 30 because my prediction was they would have someone get 30 this year. So I need one of these guys to do it. I'd like to see Tyro make a push for that too. It's nice to see them using the running game and joining us in the 21st century. So I think Bob Melvin, to his credit, has noticed like this team isn't scoring runs. We got to run. We got to start trying to make things happen. And they did it. I mean, God, they had a hit and run, whether it was intentional or not. They did a hit and run today, which was awesome to see. So, and then the last guy, Jung-Hoo Lee, that I want to bring up, he's on a 9-game hitting streak right now. He's hitting 270. His average is up to 270 on the year. OPS is still down a little bit as he, gets more experience. I'd love to see the average and the on-base percentage go up a little bit. He's clearly not going to slug a ton. Maybe I would like to see more doubles, but he did steal 2 bags and, getting the running game going. I mean, he's not going to be a burner. He's not going to be a big 30 stolen base guy, but I don't see any reason why he can't get them 15, maybe 15 to 20. So, good to see out of that. Overall, I mean, 3-3, the road trip. You get out of the road trips 500. If you can play 500 ball on the road and make hay at home, you're going to be a really good team. So I can't really get upset at that. They had some, frustration, and there's things that obviously they need to work on and they need to improve at. And there's things that I, along with many others, have been pushing for them to do. But at the end of the day, at least they get to have a happy flight home. We'll see how they do it on their homestand. It's time to start kind of getting back up to 500. We all knew it was a rough start. I'm not going to be too overly concerned with the record to this point, but they clearly have some issues, especially offensively. So we'll see how they do starting tomorrow at home against Arizona. Other than that, as always, appreciate all the support. We're like right up against 400 subscribers. So anybody that's watching this that maybe isn't subscribed, it's like 80 something percent of the people watching are usually not subscribed. So if you can hit the subscribe button, like the videos, I appreciate it. Drop a comment. Tell me what you guys think, what you guys have seen this week. I love interacting with everyone in the comments section. It's fun. It's half why I did this channel. So appreciate all the support from everyone. Other than that, go Giants. And I will be definitely putting out the Jordan Hicks video in the next day or two. Still working on editing some stuff for that. But I want to give him the shout outs he deserves because and to kind of dive into how he's starting his season like this. I mean, his stuff is flat out nasty. So appreciate it, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.